Welcome to Sunday morning at First Presbyterian Church. I'm Pastor Dieth, and in response to the events of the amazing resurrection at Easter, it now becomes our job to discern how we respond to the events of Holy Week and Christ being raised from the dead. We are to discern how we are being led to live, to change our lives, to care for others, to welcome others to Christ's table. This is our call and our challenge. Let's do this together. Come on in.
Our first lesson this morning is taken from the 21st book of John, verses 1 through 14. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, and he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two others of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, "I am going fishing." They said to him, "We will go with you." They went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just after daybreak, Jesus stood on the beach, but the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, you have no fish, have you?" They answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net to the right side of your boat, and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on some clothes, for he was naked, and jumped into the sea. But the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, only about 100 yards off. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them, and though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." Now none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. This is the word of the Lord.
Continuing on in the same story of John 21, 15 through 19. Listen for the word of the Lord. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Well, now Peter felt hurt because he said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wished. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go." He said this to indicate the kind of death which would glorify him. After this, he said to him, "Follow me." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, amazing story, one of my favorites in this passage, all chock full of goodies for us to explore today. Vicki did some good work there to open it up. We have just had Easter, Mary at the tomb, all this in John's account. Didn't see Jesus. Man was there. She supposed him to be the gardener. He called her by name, Mary, teacher, rabbi. And then they went back, told Peter, John, and came. And then right after that, last week, that Aaron explored for you, you have the Doubting Thomas passage that comes right after those resurrection passages. You have Thomas, who had gone for coffee and donuts in the locked room. Jesus came in. He wasn't there. He came back. They said, guess what? Jesus. He said, I don't think so. Or maybe he didn't dare to believe unless I see him, unless I touch him myself. Then a second time, Jesus came back. Thomas proclaims, my Lord and my God, and believes. And here, now this is the next. So even though Peter and the rest of the disciples had seen Jesus twice in that room in John's account, they still weren't sure what to do with all this, still know how to process all of it. Still, the events of Holy Week still hang. They're still trying to figure out what happened on the cross, what happened at the empty tomb, what is going on. Do we dare believe that Jesus indeed has been raised? Or is this some kind of fantasy we just wish would happen? And even so, Jesus didn't spend a whole lot of time with them in that upper room. They don't know what they're supposed to do now. They are perplexed. They are still confused. And so Peter calls it out. He said, I'm going fishing. And 6 others, so 7 of them total, said, we'll go with you. Ever been in that hard place where something that you have no control over, you're waiting to happen? And you're waiting, and you're waiting. And you sit there, and every second is a minute, every minute is an hour, every day is a month, all of that. That's exactly where I don't know what to do next, but I can't just sit here, Peter said. So I said, us either, let's go back. Let's go fishing. This wasn't as we normally go fishing. This was back to what they knew. This was back to who they were before they met Jesus. It was a place where they could go. They could be kinetically engaged and moving and active and be doing something in that time. All night, the professional fishermen caught Zippo. And then sun breaks, daybreak breaks, and again in the Gospel of John, as light and darkness are significant and important. If you remember in Luke's resurrection account, Mary comes still in the dark, and then day breaks, the light comes, and Jesus is there. That darkness represents all of that death, all of that Good Friday, all of that grief and mess she's bringing to the tomb until the light breaks and Christ comes. They are here all night, suffering in silence. The professional fishermen don't catch one fish. Why not? Because they are overcome. They are in the literal darkness until day breaks. And who do they see on the shore? Well, they don't know yet. We know it's Jesus. Day breaks again, and Christ comes with the light. They look, and none of these 7 who have spent years 24/7 with Jesus, experiencing all of the amazing and miraculous things that Jesus has done, called them, claimed them, they don't know that it's him. Jesus calls out, children, how's the fishing? What'd you catch? Said, nothing, thank you for asking. And Jesus says, cast your nets again. Reminiscent of Luke's account of the gospel of the fishermen being called in Luke 5 with a big draft, a big haul of net and fish, not in John. But in Luke, here, they throw the net over. So many fish, it should have been tearing the nets, but it didn't. So as they're trying to figure out what's going on, John, the beloved disciple, not even Peter yet, not the rest, says, it's the Lord. It's Jesus. Peter, it's Jesus. Peter, it says he's naked. I assume he's not naked. Fishing may have been different back in the day. I mean, who knows? Puts his clothes on and then jumps out to go greet Jesus because he can't stand it. He can do no other than to rush towards Christ with all that he is. Impetuous, passionate Peter. Then they went ashore, and Jesus has a beautiful charcoal grill going. Char grill, I'm sure, from Columbus, Georgia. Has the fish, has the bread. Fish and bread. Maybe takes us to the feeding of the 5,000. And later, Jesus asks them, he says, bring what you have to what I already have. It's a sermon right there. Just like it was for the boy in the feeding of 5,000, he gave what he had. Jesus multiplied it and fed. Jesus is saying, I already have given you what you need. Bring some of what you have, and we will celebrate this feast, this meal together. So they do. 153 fish. That's a lot. They were big. None of them asked who it was because they knew it was Jesus. Now, this section ends, it says, now this was the third time, that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. 2 times last week in that locked room, Doubting Thomas, this was the third time. And the last bit, the conversation with Peter. The offset, as Vicky said, the 3 times that he denied Christ now becomes the 3 times that Peter pledges his love for Christ and Christ commands him. But we'll get back to that. So 3 things this morning real quick. Fish, face, feeding. Fish, comma, face, not fish face. So number 1, fish. Jesus catches the fish. It is a sign of Jesus's mystery, of his miraculous power, of the way that Jesus can only do what Jesus did and does. Miracles are not confined to these pages. Miracles happen in our lives every day. And it's a reminder that we don't want to domesticate our creator, redeemer, and sustainer God, whom we think we know enough to put in our box and keep Jesus there. God will not be held in our confines. God is always bigger and more amazing and powerful and joy-filled and love-filled than we can ever fathom. Remember, we can never fully figure out God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, but we know enough to bet our lives on. So don't forget the mystery, and mystery is okay. Because you cannot explain everything, it does not mean that it did not happen, or it wasn't real, or you do not have faith. That is God's design, that we do not have it all figured out. Otherwise, it would be knowledge and not faith. Number 2, face, Jesus's face. As I said before, all of his disciples didn't recognize him until he spoke to them, until he called them. Is there a chance Jesus could have been there all night in their darkness? Is there a chance Jesus could have been there on the shore had they just been looking for him? And while certainly they were covered up with all kinds of emotions and grief, again from the events of the cross and the empty tomb and trying to piece it all together, Jesus' life and claims as Messiah, Son of God, but they were so focused in what they were doing, they couldn't see that Jesus was right there. I know in my life every day, I get so focused on my schedule, on my phone calls, on my emails, on my visits, on my this and my that, in my everyday, that sometimes I am not openly looking for where God is in my life. They weren't looking for Christ, and guess what? They did not see him. So number two, I want you to remember that while Christ comes to us in our everyday, yes, we have to live with an openness that God is seeking to be present and communicate with us, and God's Spirit is seeking to fill us all the time, every day. Our days are so routine to us. So was fishing for the disciples. Jesus was right there. They did not know. Don't be so focused. Be focused. Get done what you need to get done. But always keep your heart and your mind and your soul open to Christ being present. And number three, the feeding. All the way through the Gospels, Jesus feeds his people. Especially the Last Supper, which we will come to momentarily. Jesus feeds the 5,000. So many meals done together, reclining around the table. So much intimacy and sharing and teaching and worship and celebration and hardship. All the way through it, Jesus feeds them physically, spiritually, and gives them what they need. Jesus here has got the grill going. He's literally feeding them. He wants them to see that he has a body. This is not just some kind of vision or dream, that he is solid, that his body is tangible, and you can touch it, and he can eat. He's not a ghost, not an apparition. His body is real. And he's feeding them at the same time. Then we shift to Peter, who he's also feeding, but in a different way. Peter thought he had done the unforgivable sins in denying Christ 1, 2, 3 times. Jesus comes back, feeds him with his grace, his mercy, his forgiveness by asking the same 3 questions 3 times. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? I do, you know I do. So it's do you love me? It's follow me, Jesus says. And then Jesus gives him a way to do that. Tend my lambs, feed my sheep. And in so doing, as Vicki lifted up earlier, by the way that we take care of others is the way that Christ is telling Peter to follow him. I love you, Lord, then follow me. When you follow me, what's that going to look like? Tending, feeding, and feeding. Feeding. Taking care of others. Taking this meal of sacrifice, of love, of grace out into the world for those who are hungry, for those who do not know that they are loved, for those who are struggling, and for those in this room, all the same. Christ continues to feed us this day and every day. Should we open ourselves? Should we come to the table? Should we take Christ into our hearts and lives? So as we come to this table, don't forget the mysteries and the miracles of our God. Know that they did not recognize his face because they were so focused on their everyday. We can be focused, but we still need to be expecting Christ in our lives. And third, Christ continues to feed us and expects us to feed others with his grace, with his glory. So it is that Christ calls us to this table that we just have celebrated as and remembered. And Jesus sets it again for us today. Christ is here. Christ sets the table. This table does not belong to First Presbyterian Church, but is open to all of God's children. So come, taste and see that the Lord is good.